Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm honored to be here to stand in solidarity with the employees at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. But now more and more we need to protect our workers.
That's right.
Just last week, as you've heard, Charlotte's Douglas was named the 6th busiest airport in the world. I'm in that airport twice a week, back and forth from Washington to Charlotte. In 2024 alone, we saw more than 596,000 takeoffs and landings in Charlotte. They contributed $40 billion in economic impact to North Carolina. So Charlotte Douglas International Airport is a major economic and transportation center for the city of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. But it's only possible because of the tireless, dedicated work of our airport employees, like the men and women who are here with us today. And so, without them, not a single plane would leave those runways.
That's right.
But despite these workers taking care of us, people like me, they don't receive the same treatment. And low wages, poor benefits have led to high staff turnover at our airports.
That's right.
And many of these employees, they're paid below the poverty line. They're having to choose between making rent or putting food on the table for their families. In fact, a recent study found that 40% of Charlotte Douglas service workers are housing insecure. Well, that's not acceptable.
No.
And meanwhile, many aren't receiving benefits like paid vacation or sick days.
That's right.
And these are the men and women that we're asking to keep us safe. But they can't even take care of themselves and their families. And make no mistake about it, cuts from the federal government, and you've heard about them, they're only going to make it worse.
That's right.
Now I hear the administration always talking about able-bodied workers. Well, we got able-bodied workers who are not getting paid. And so the new budget blueprint that Republicans passed this month, just a few weeks ago, will cut the benefits that support you and your family, and all in exchange for tax cuts for billionaires. And they're planning to cut up to $880 billion from Medicaid and Medicare to pay for tax cuts for billionaires, $230 billion from SNAP to pay for tax cuts for billionaires, and they've already cut $700 billion in rent subsidies to pay again for tax cuts for billionaires. These are services that our airport workers rely on. And so we're not going to take this lying down.
That's right.
I'm going to fight like hell in committee and on the floor to stop these cuts.
Yeah.
And we need our community to fight like hell here in
Yeah.
Charlotte, to help pay the respect and the benefits that these workers deserve. And so I recently spoke to one of my constituents, a wheelchair assistant here in Charlotte Douglas, who shared her story with me. She works full time at the airport every day, taking care of our elderly passengers like me, disabled passengers and unaccompanied minors, and she keeps them safe and she gets them to where they need to go. But when she gets off work, she gets home to a motel room where she can barely afford with she and her daughter. She's faced eviction more than once, and she relies on government programs like Medicaid to make the ends meet. And without these programs, how can dedicated employees like her afford to keep working at the airport? That's why it's never been more important for us to stand with our airport workers right now, because they're counting on us to fight for them.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for workers to face food and housing insecurity. There's no excuse for workers to have to push through injury and illness because they can't afford time off.
That's right.
And there is no excuse for workers to make our health and safety a priority, but they never are able to do the same thing for themselves and their families. That's not acceptable.
That's right.
So we need to ensure that these workers are paid fair, are paid living wages, and receive the benefits they deserve. We need to encourage support for Ks.
Yeah.
We need to do that. And because when the federal government isn't supporting them, it's up to this community to step in and just know that I stand with you. I support these workers. Working hard is not enough if you don't make enough.
Say that.
So we got to make sure that
about
we ensure that these workers, making sure that people like me who are in and out of that airport traveling to and fro are kept safe and get to where they need to go. Let's support these workers. Justice is taking
Right.
flight. Let's take
Yes.
flight.